Johnny, is our reluctance to look at what Scripture says. God says that the reason in Malachi, the reason for having a union, a covenantal marriage union, is that He wants godly offspring. That's God's end of the deal. He wants children. And when we refuse to look at God and His principles, then we can go off and look at chores or taking out the trash and doing dishes is more important to a healthy marriage.
Yeah, what scares me is only 41% of the people in this Pew survey said that having children was important to a marriage.
Wow. And the thing that has bothered me is seeing child models on this TV, and it's almost like the parents are trying to relive their life through the child, and you kind of wonder, boy, if this child couldn't act or couldn't model.
Or sports.
Yeah, would they even want the child? You know, it's...
And see, I'll still tell you, as we've talked about this in past shows, abortion is the cause of this. Abortion turned children into a commodity which you could choose to give value to or choose not to give value to.
It's a slippery slope. We just keep sliding on down.
It's very slippery.
And here's something I found interesting in this article. This leftist Virginia Rutter, sociology professor at Framingham, Massachusetts State College, said that the problem here, the reason that children have fallen down the list from number 1 down to number 8 or 9 or whatever it is, as far as an important part of marriage, is because, listen to this, America's relative lack of family-friendly workplace policies and paid leave and subsidized child care. Now,
it's like socialism to me.
Yeah, now listen, but here's the thing that nobody's pointing out here, and the article should have called her on this. 100 years ago, we didn't have family-friendly workplaces, and we didn't have policies that had paid child care and paid leave, and yet children were number 1.
That's right. Yes.
So
and they had 8 or 9 of them sometimes.
Or 12 or 15,
12,
whatever.
Right, yeah.
So obviously the woman's lying. That these policies have nothing to do with the reason that children have slipped down the slope. It has nothing to do with that.
You know, my wife, Pat, comes from a family of 11.
Yeah.
You know, and...
Did they have paid child care? And
no paid child care, no. Her dad works in the shipyard, you know, and he retired recently, and mom worked at the school, you know, But and as Pat got older, she said, wow, she learned to love her brothers and sisters so much, and it was tough. Right. She was raised in a 3-bedroom house. You know, mom and dad had their one room, the boys had one room, and the girls had another room. You know?
That's all you need, right?
You know, but every one of those children were loved.
Sure.
Every one of them.
But we've devalued life so much, and, you know, just get rid of it. If you don't want the kid, get rid of it, born or unborn anymore.
Again,
so.
it's what can the kid do for me? Right. It's not a matter that the child has intrinsic value. It's what can the child do for me?
That's the issue.
Right. And you got some other thing that just reinforces that.
Yeah, it's what you've told us all along about the slippery slope. Now we've talked about designer babies. You go pick out if it starts out, do you want a boy or a girl? And now it's how tall do you want them, and what color eyes do you want? And there's I guess a sperm bank that won't even allow men that are under 5'9" to donate sperm because they're going to be taller.
Right. And they're paying $50,000 to women who go to Harvard for their eggs, because those eggs are better than the eggs of women that go to University of North Texas or Alabama or no college at all, right? Those are better eggs, so they'll pay $50,000. Right. And women are doing this. And again, this is designer babies. This is go down and literally they're talking here about browse through page after page of donor profiles. Sure. So you go down, it's like you're ordering a car. Oh, I want my baby to have, what do you think, blue eyes? Are you okay with blue? Okay, blue eyes.
It's a checklist. I want leather seats, sunroof, CD player. I want green eyes, blonde hair, 6 foot, intelligence. In fact, some of these places even guarantee IQ level.
Right.
They guarantee. What sort of, is there a money-back guarantee here?
If child turns out to be average intelligence,
you get to be 18 and you don't have a 200 IQ, then you get to abort him at that point?
Yeah, I was going to say, what does that lead to then? Do they find out while they're in utero, well, ma'am, we promised you blue eyes, but it looks like this child's having brown. Do they abort then?
We don't want to open up a whole other can of worms, but we had a segment here a couple of months ago about what they're called deformer babies now, where people who are handicapped can genetically alter their unborn child, even if the child has no problems, so that it'll have they were talking about these mainly deaf people that are wanting a deaf child, so they take a child that can hear
and dwarf people and
dwarfs and make them deaf or make them dwarfs on purpose, so that the child can be like him. In other words, it's what can the child do for me again, and that's the issue.
Take God out of the equation because God makes
it's an
the
obscenity.
children.
It really.
Anytime you take God out of the equation, man is guaranteed to mess up.
Oh, absolutely.
Guaranteed.
That's a guarantee.
doctrine.
That's a guarantee. Anyway, we've got a special guest. I think you're going to tell us about there, Cherie.
We do. We came across this nice article in the Dallas Morning News written by Mrs. Virginia Arbery, and she has a bunch of kids, and one of them is Down syndrome child. And Virginia, are you there with us?
Yes, I am. Hi.
How are you this morning?
Fine, thank you. How are you, Cherie?
Good. We would like to know what led you to write this article.
Well, my friend, who was the editor of Points, Rod Dreher, had suggested to the new editor of Points that they asked me to write a piece. And as I apologetically say in the Points section of the Sunday paper, I have never been active in the pro-life movement or in special needs advocacy. I have 8 children. I'm a professor of political philosophy. I've taught for 30 years. But I had recently read about the new test that has come out and encouraged and advocated by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists to detect whether a pregnant lady has or is carrying a Down syndrome child. And if so, all kinds of encouragement and advice is given to abort the child. And I felt that I could not be silent any longer. For years I had thought that teaching natural law philosophy and the principles and the tradition of our great Western beliefs and cultural structures, that would be a real effect on a pro-life environment. And so that's what I put all my energy into, and that was quite enough with 8 children. But after this even worse turn than when I had given my own childbirth, where amniocentesis was used, I thought that it would be necessary to write this article, and that's why I did.
Well, you know, isn't it interesting, and we've talked about this in the past, all this new medical technology that comes along to detect these issues while a woman's still pregnant, they're not done in order to say, okay, let's try to correct the problem, or let's prepare the parents for what this is going to be, what their child's going to be like. It's always done so that we can determine earlier in the pregnancy whether to kill the baby or not. And currently, and I'm outraged about what these people in the medical community are saying, that we need better information. Currently in America, over 90% of all babies that are detected with Down syndrome are killed. And I guess that's not a high enough percentage for these people.
I know. Well, you know, the journalist, what's his name, George Will, who was one of the editors of Newsweek, he has a Down child, a young man now, and he's the one who used that term, that this is a pogrom against the Down children. And Senator Brownback, wonderful senator, you know, from Kansas, has talked against this too, and reminded our senators that the young man who greets them every morning and gives them such joy is a Downs man, and are they wanting to eliminate that kind of cheerful, welcoming, generous soul from the world? It's amazing. It really is a program. And y'all do such a great job of talking about commodification. I think that's really exactly the mentality that has become the most influential in this program against Down's children. The children who are like our marvelous, witty, amazing daughter, Julia, don't fit in to the picture of the perfect little family, the little scenario of everything working according to the same plan by which you wait to buy your car or your boat.
It goes back to what we just said about what can they do for us. Well, the Down syndrome child, the imperfect child, doesn't quite fit in.
Well, you know, and the thing about it is, just like Virginia here, we've had people on this program before with Down syndrome children. We've all known a lot of families that had Down syndrome children, and they will tell you that they would not trade that child for any other child in the world. These children are lovable, they're friendly, and we had a person on the show several years back now who had a Down syndrome child, And she was living with the guilt of having considered abortion. She finally decided not to. And she says now, our entire family, as well as the extended family on both sides of the family, revolves around this child.
Isn't that beautiful? And you know what frighs me more than anything about this is these American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. This smacks of racism, ivory tower elitism that says, I'm better than these people. And I should be able to